my nose started getting chapped a lot, so I had to go for the deluxe puff mist tissue, which was pretty good. How's the weather where you guys are?
Very overcast, not very windy, but there definitely is a heavy breeze.
Yeah, it's cloudy here. That's about it. It's not even come close to what they said it might come, but it's early, I suppose.
Yeah,
which is good. I mean, we need the rain. We don't need hard rain. We need, steady rain, light rain.
Yes. Well, about a week ago here in Palolo, we had a downpour.
Yeah, well, Monday, my nose started getting chapped a lot, so I had to Monday night go for we had deluxe puff mist.
That might have been it Monday. I'm not thinking too.
Yeah, I know. I completely understand. But that was a huge event because we had some flooding, didn't come into our house, but it was flooding around the neighborhood. And it went into Tuesday morning. It was much worse than what we're having now, but we'll see. As long as the power doesn't go out, I'm good. As long as we get through the humidity, I'll be good. I hope you're feeling better soon.
Oh, I know that I am on the mend. It's just I'm not there yet. So I'm coughing a lot.
Yeah.
And my nose, but I am on the mend. Yeah.
You take anything for it?
What they gave me is all over the counter. So Claritin, Mucinex, and Nocol. Anyway, a nose spray.
Yeah.
Worst is when I get into bed, then I just start coughing, and I have to sit up to cough. And so, not sleeping well.
Yeah, you don't want it moving into your chest.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to show up tomorrow to the hearing that has the commission's bill, because I think showing support is important. But I will decide tomorrow whether it would be offensive for me to show up and coughing.
Wear a mask.
Yeah, I've been wearing. I have to go out and get food. Yeah, I always wear a mask when I need to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to freak people out.
Yeah, it does. It does kind of freak people out when they see. They automatically go, as we're conditioned to do, that person has COVID.
Okay, there are now at least 3 of us here, so we have a quorum. I can't tell for sure whether Mike Town has joined us or not. But anyway, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Many of you may have been hearing right now discussing being sick. And unfortunately, Mark Patterson is sick this morning. He will not be able to be with us. So first, let's begin with roll call. Mark Patterson, not here. Mark Browning?
Here.
Ronnie Barra?
Here.
Mike Town? He's hoping to join us. Martha Twainey, I'm here. So we do have quorum. Today, we are going to be reviewing our priorities for the 2025 legislature. And this was unfortunately omitted on the agenda, but our first responsibility is to ask those who are joining us if they have any comments about the bills that we posted on the internet and other bills that might be introduced. So if you have any comments that you want to say now, please raise your hand. Let's see. I don't see any hands up. Okay, again, for those of you who have joined us, Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann, your hand is up.
Okay, aloha everyone, good morning. Konghi Fa Choi. I'm here today. Carrie Ann Shirota, Policy Director for ACL of Hawaii. However, today I'm speaking on behalf of the Reimagining Public Safety Coalition. Liam Chin, the coalition coordinator, was unable to attend today's meeting and requested that I speak on behalf of the coalition. The Reimagining Public Safety Coalition is requesting your support of the following 2 bills. HB 1262, relating to corrections, which I'll describe as the moratorium, establishing a moratorium on the issuance of a request for proposal and construction of any new or expanded correctional facility from July 2025 till June 2028, including the planned construction of a new facility to replace the existing OCCC, and also establishes a criminal justice diversion task force and appropriates funds. The second bill is HB 1446 relating to public safety. I'm going to refer to this one as an audit, requiring the Office of the Auditor to perform a comprehensive forensic audit of the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and DAGs related to the planning, design, financing, construction, and maintenance of a new jail to replace OCCC, and it requires a report to the legislature. The Commission's letter to Governor Green and copy to all lawmakers calls for a pause relating to the proposed construction of a new 1,300-bed jail to replace OCCC to allow for a focused effort on rehabilitation, diversion, systems reform, and build-out. This is directly in alignment with the moratorium and audit bills. If the Commission is truly serious about a pause and systems-wide approach to transforming the correctional system from punishment to rehabilitation, then simply calling for a pause in a letter is not sufficient. Legislation to pass the moratorium for 3 years is required, and we ask that you support that measure. Similarly, we ask that you support the forensic audit to better understand how the Department of Corrections is spending funds relating to planning to the proposed $1 billion super jail. Thank you so much for the opportunity to submit testimony on behalf of the Reimagining Public Safety Coalition. Mahalo.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Commissioners, I'm going to ask that we discuss these two bills at the end of our discussion of the other bills, if that's okay.
What was the second bill number?
HB 1446.
Thank you.
Okay, Nathan Lee, you have your hand up.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. I'm Nathan Lee. I'm speaking on behalf of the ACLU of Hawaii. I just want to note our support of 3 of the bills that you've posted. So HB 675, HB 127, and Senate Bill 725. These are all bills that we support. We especially wanted to highlight House Bill 127 as being especially helpful in that it sets basic conditions with which bail should be set and calculation of ability to pay bail should be set. And so while we support all 3 of these bills, we'd ask for your support of 127 in particular because it sets certain criteria such as excluding any benefits from the calculation of income and also presuming individuals who make less than 150% of the federal poverty level be considered unable to pay any amount of bail. And so we think that these are pretty basic common sense measures that require judges to explain why they've chosen to deny somebody bail and also why they've chosen to set bail, and also provide a basic floor for people to be presumed unable to pay bail. Thank you.
Nathan, can I ask you to repeat again the last bill you mentioned, one of the Senate bills?
Yeah, 725. So these are all in item C of the agenda or the bill review that was put out by the commission.
Yeah,
so
I just wanted to make sure I have it right.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Martha.
Anybody else with a hand
Martha?
up?
Yep.
Yes?
Yeah, I just like to ask Nathan if he could email what he has just said to us. I couldn't hear most of what he said. It came in and out and in and out, and
Okay.
so
yeah.
I mean,
I'll do that. I have a table with the 3 bills and any differences and similarities. So I'll do that this afternoon. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands at this point, but I have a hard time on my little computer. Okay.
Martha, this is Bob Merce.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Yes.
I just wanted to make one very brief comment about something that Carrie Ann said, which just reminded me that the plan is to build basically a 1,300-bed jail, which means a 300-bed reentry facility. They're calling it a transitional facility now, and a 1,000-bed jail. And those numbers are based are based on a consultant's report, in which the consultant made crystal clear that those numbers assume that we will not do anything legislatively or through correctional policy or in any other way to reduce the jail population. And we know the jail population has 30% houseless people. It has 86% people with substance use disorders, 49% with mental illness, which means that we are now building for the future the beds for those people. Instead of building any beds in the community, if we go forward with this plan, we are committed to spending $1 billion to house these people for the next 50 years in a jail. And that is the real significance, I think, of the need for a pause. Thank you.
Thank you. If anybody else has their hand up, please let me know. I'm having a hard time seeing. Okay, I think we're ready to get started at this point. So, I'm sorry. We have grouped the bills into different subject-like areas. I'm the one that did the initial review for the department. I'm sorry, not for the department, for the commission. And it was Kristen then that took those bills and put them into related areas, so it would be easier for us to discuss. So the first group has to do with the commission-related bill. I think most of you are aware that we have been putting in a request to extend the time that the Oversight Coordinator is appointed from 2 years to 4 years, to allow the Oversight Coordinator to go into the facilities at any time without notice, rather than just pursuant to investigation, which is how the law currently relates. And Kristen, I forgot the third thing that it does. Isn't it one thing it does?
No, it actually ended up just being those two. The last
okay.
ensuring that commissioners can meet in private in regards to investigations, but our AG actually specified that we're allowed to do that by law anyway, so we didn't need to put it in.
Oh, okay. So we took out one section that we had proposed in previous years, allowing us to go into executive session to decide or to discuss results of investigations. And we've been informed by the AG that we're already allowed to do that. So that's not there anymore. The next is arrest, warrantless citations. Does anybody have comments about the warrantless citations? Any of our commissioners? I'm okay with that. The next is pretrial bail.
Wait, Martha, are we deciding? So my understanding of this is that we're deciding if commissioners are supporting or passing or not supporting, and then also deciding who's going to submit testimony or who's going to write testimony.
Okay. So, warrantless citations. I think this is a very quick testimony if we decide to do it. Are people in favor of this? Are members of the commission in favor of this? Not in favor of this? Any position taken?
So, Martha, if I may say something.
Yes.
So I agree with the concept. Basically, this arrest requires factors be established and justified. But I wonder why is the commission going into this? How does it affect our responsibility and our mission? Yeah, I agree. It's a good idea. You don't want police officers or whoever to arrest without, basically, well, the standard now is probable cause, but certainly why is the commissioner, our commission rather, involved in this or
That's a very good question.
So, whether we should write testimony, just support or, the idea or basically by looking at basically, if we want to take the approach that anything that affects the criminal justice system, we should testify, which although we may be supportive, and that's what I'm looking at.
And my feelings are that we should be far more selective in what we're testifying on so that we have more power in our voice. The more scattered we are and things that we submit, testimony we submit, will mute our voice to a certain extent. And no, I do not see really. When I initially did the review, I had many of these in italics, and the ones in italics were for us to discuss whether we wanted to pursue them or not pursue them. And I believe this was one of the ones that was in italics. It's not the same anymore, the way I presented it. Mark, do you have any comment on this?
I'm sorry. Trying to move around. We have construction going on next door, if you can believe it. So trying to get away from it. I agree with what you both have said. I think the focus, in order for us to be able to have a strong voice that people will listen to, is basically should be limited to what the statute requires us to focus on as commissioners and the purpose of the commission. Not that I don't think it's a good idea, but
I agree with you. So HB 128, the consensus appears to be not to testify on that bill. Next one is bail pretrial detention, which is something that we have been testifying on in the past. The first is HB 675, which requires judge to make certain findings regarding a defendant's ability to afford bail. In this bill, it also talked about that the intake service center is responsible for getting those financial statements and reporting them to the judge. I did ask Kristen to get in touch with the people at the department to see whether they had any problems with this. And Kristen, it appears they do report the income.
Yeah. So I checked in with ISD and they told me that they already report the income of the individuals. And so I asked them if they felt like this was doable for their team, and they said it was more than doable.
Okay. I would really like to know more information, how they verify that that's the person's income for the judges to make that decision. So I'm hoping we can get more information from them, but I have no problem supporting this.
Okay, just so you know, so we already submitted supportive testimony in SB 725, which is this bill's companion.
Yes.
Okay.
Ron, Mark, any comments?
Yeah, I agree. We should support this because certainly one of the responsibilities of the commission is monitoring the prison population, and as we know, pretrial population is one of the highest percentage in the jail population, and certainly anything to address the pretrial detention rates we should support.
I agree. Mark Branning? Mark, you're on mute.
sorry, I don't disagree. I just don't think that the bill has any future, or even if it did, it would make a difference one way or the other, knowing how decisions are made.
Yeah, I agree with them because under 804, anyway, the president talks about bill is not to discriminate against, the indigent, the poor, and that financial status considered anyway. But this is more specific. I guess it comes down to philosophy and educating the players in the criminal justice system. But yes, I certainly agree to. But I say that by the ledge now pointing things out, the players in the criminal justice system take notice and hopefully would then implement.
Yeah. Under this section, in the past, Ron, you have taken on the bail bills for us. As Kristen already said, testimony from HB 675 we've already reviewed and it's been submitted. But would you be willing to take this group again?
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go to HB 127, which again talks about the financial ability and the conditions that are imposed. Judges, you are more familiar with this than I am. No comment?
Which,
127. HB 127. It's the court needs to enter into the record its written findings regarding the necessity of conditions imposed and requires the bail be set an amount affordable to the defendant.
yeah, along with my comment and Mark's comment, basically, this would again hopefully let the judges know, whoever is the decision maker, know that there are certain factors that they must focus on and be more specific. Now, whether it will change it, but at least I see that, the legislature is directing, the judges to make findings and not necessarily just say, well, I did it in my mind, but certainly write specific findings.
Okay, and Nathan Lee just posted that the previous bill amends 804-4 directly, while other bills only amend 804-9. So there is a difference between them. But again, we should be pursuing both of them. The last one, SB 725. And this is relating to judge making certain findings regarding the defendant's ability. Again, we agree on this?
Yeah, testimony's been submitted on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, D, new jail, new construction. HB 1330 authorizes the issuance of general obligation bonds. This has been an issue that we discussed in the past, and I really think we need some clarification. But there has been proposed that this be a P3, private partnership, and versus GO bonds. And when we had a pause in the past, we had asked for a pause. I don't believe it was on the weight of our testimony or our request that they paused it. I think because the legislature was having to face a number of major CIP projects and were concerned about how many bonds they would be floating them at that point. The concern for me, and this is where I need clarification, is my understanding is that if a department has a new structure built under a P3 agreement, that payment for that P3 agreement comes from the operating budget of the department, which means instead of being with budget and finance, where if it's GO bonds, budget and finance pays the debt. And if that is true, that it is the departments that become responsible for it, should there be a reduction in state income in the future, and every department is told to do like a 5%, 10% cut, the department could not touch the debt money, which means it would be a greater impact on other parts of the department. So I'm in favor of supporting GO bonds, but that's my personal vantage point. And as Mark mentioned earlier, it may not be appropriate for the department to testify on that. Other comments? Kristen, do you have anything to say about that?
No, I don't think so.
So I'm getting...
Sure. Yeah.
Should we perhaps be silent on this bill, Ron and Mark?
I don't think it's appropriate this time.
Okay.
Support or oppose.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll be silent on 1330. HB 1376, private prisons, to phase out the private prisons. People, let's see, it says to phase out the use of private correctional facility, but also prohibits the construction of new correctional facilities or expansion of existing without approval. Oh, without our approval. Okay. Two judges, I want to ask your opinion about that, about the commission having the responsibility of, or the authority to approve CIP projects, whether it be expansions or a new facility.
We don't have the power to do that. It's not constitutional.
And I don't believe that we have the power to do that either. We are not, we don't run the operations of the department. We have opinions, that's for sure, but I don't think we have the power to do this. Ron, do you have comments on this one?
Yeah. I agree. We should not get into this.
Okay, so no testimony on HB 1376. Okay, HB 1263. Moratorium again on the issuance of requests for proposals and constructions of any new or expanded correctional facility, including the planned construction of the new facility.
I can ask a question for HB 1376. Do you guys want to pass or submit testimony that specifies that we're not in support because of that piece?
No, we're just going to pass on it. We're not going to make any comments on it. No testimony. I don't agree with this bill because I did not support having a moratorium again anyway. So I asked my other two members comments on 1263. Hearing
I think
none,
for me, pass.
just pass on that bill. Ron, do
Yeah.
you agree?
Yeah.
And I agree. Okay, we'll pass on that. Qualitative practices, this I think is really getting to meat of things that we are very concerned about. HB 676 requires youth and adult correctional facilities to provide free and accessible voice communication services. When I was doing the review of the bills, I overlooked these bills, and I believe it was from it's from Josh Frost at ACLU that brought to our attention. You know, when you're reviewing hundreds of bills, I saw PUC, I just went right past it, and really it has to do with communication. I support our incarcerated people having better communication with their families, so I don't have no problem with this bill.
I support as well.
Ron?
I support.
Now, Kristen, you already wrote testimony for this bill?
I have testimony regarding the same topic from, I think 2 years ago when we testified on this. So I can pull it back up. But yeah, we basically have the bulk of what we would want to say in here. We haven't written testimony on it yet for this year.
Okay, so we will support this. The next one is the same one for the Senate. So again, we would support that. Are they companion bills or are they just similar bills?
Well, they're companion.
They're companions. Okay, we need to put in parentheses next to it that they're companions.
So George sent an updated spreadsheet yesterday that includes all of your italicized and then also the companion bills that we talked about.
That's not what's on the internet.
Oh, no, he sent an updated one to the commission.
Oh, okay.
That's all good. I'm following along.
What on the agenda? It'd be hard for me to open up another thing right now to get to a different one. I'm looking at the one that's posted on the website, which is what the public is looking at also. Okay. So rehabilitative practices. Oh, we went through those. I'm sorry. Reentry. HB 1342. Appropriations for reentry programs. We have been very much in favor of expanding programming and training for the reentry, and that is one of our responsibilities by statute to make sure the department is in fact implementing their section on reentry correctly. So I am in favor of testifying in favor of this bill. Comments?
Yep.
Okay. Ron, you agree?
Agree.
Okay, we'll testify in favor. HB 677, again, this issue has come up again and again about getting the documents, and we have been very strident in our request that this take place. They get the documents they need. So I am in favor of submitting testimony in support of HB 677. Comments?
That's one that we've already written testimony for too.
Yeah. You guys in agreement?
Agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. HB 433 appropriates funds again for reentry services connected to connect offenders with community-based services. Obviously supported well by the legislators. Look at how many people signed that bill. So again, I am in favor of supporting this bill. Comments?
I'm okay with it.
Agree.
481, offender reentry certification suitability for employment requires the department to issue a certificate of suitability for employment. I like the idea. I just don't know how it would be carried out. I mean, like right now at Waiava, they do have the University of Hawaii working with the Carpenters Union to do 10-week courses on construction. And they do get a certificate at the end of that. But it is the university that's giving that certificate. So I just don't know how it'd be carried out, but I'm in favor of it. So I'm willing to testify in favor of it.
We did submit testimony on this one. I think for me, like the key to this one was that it required the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to work with other government agencies and also private sector to like really encourage them to hire people with criminal, people who have been formerly incarcerated. So that's what, I liked about it.
Another thing I was impressed with that some of our wardens, they were aware of what companies out in the community were in favor of hiring inmates or former inmates. So we know that this stuff is going on, that people are supporting connecting them to the community. I was happy to see, I think at least 2 wardens talked to us about that. Any other comments on that one? Again, submit testimony in support of the concept. Okay.
Mhm.
Carolyn, I want to let you know, the public does not speak during this time. She had her hand up. Okay. Then HB 481, again, certification, suitability for employment. That would be the same. Oh, that's one we just did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
SB 734. Work training for social work. We submitted testimony on this, and the one thing that I would add is it says for DCR to work with DHS. In our testimony, we suggest that those participating in the programs get credit for it. If you're going to be giving credit, then a university would have to be associated with this. So either HPU, Chaminade, UH would have to be associated with this. So I would like to clarify in our testimony that a Institute of Higher Education should also be involved to make sure that they get credit for anything they're working on. Do the other commissioners agree with this? Have comments? Okay, seems to be okay. So we'll continue to submit testimony with some modification about higher education being involved. HB 251, yeah, same one. Again, if they were companion bill, I was expecting to see a parentheses saying it's
I know
companion.
the updated it does have it, and it is, yeah, those are companions.
The other one, yeah, but not the one that's on the internet. Okay, SB 224, identification documents. We already discussed this, and again, I would say we continue to support this vigorously. It's been a problem for a long time. Okay, medical, relating to mental health issues of committed persons.
Martha, did you touch on HB 911?
911, which one? Appropriation expands
programming and training for comprehensive offender reentry program under the Department of Corrections.
Yes, it was just like the other reentry ones.
Oh, you did cover it. Okay, sorry. I must have missed.
Pretty sure we agreed on that. Okay, medical again. It's money for the medical records, which many of you will remember in the past, the system failed. And suddenly the department had to go to handwritten records. They weren't able to transfer them from one place to another. So I say, I don't know where the department stands right now with, have they totally replaced the medical records? Christian, are you aware of that? Do they have a new system or did they just repair the old one?
I think they just repaired the old one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, based on the commission's findings, we could write some good testimony for this one.
Okay.
I mean, Yeah, so in support? And Ron, I presume you're agreeing?
Yeah.
Okay, mental health. This one I had in italics. I just didn't know whether we should be involved with this one or not. It clarifies the term of commitment for a defendant being held in a hospital or mental health facility for fitness to proceed. This has been a problem for public safety for a long time, and we need to follow up, Kristen, with public safety. Are they still having a problem with people who are being referred for a fitness to proceed, whether they are actually being transferred to a mental health facility, or are the examinations taking place in the correctional facilities? That makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I just to jump in on this. I mean, and Judge Ibarra can speak to it. I know in the First Circuit, it's still a huge problem. There's always been a huge problem, and it has to do with just simply a lack of resources. Number one, across the board, with respect to the various different branches of government and different agencies. And anything that can be done to improve that situation. I mean, our judges, as I recall, and it's only been a year, would sometimes have cases that would go on pre-trial where they were waiting for a fitness or a public defender not showing up, or whatever the reason was. There was no rhyme or reason, except it was a significant delay, in my view, that was absolutely detrimental to our sense of what due process is, but also from the standpoint of if they were kept in OCCC versus being allowed to go to the state hospital or some treatment facility, which happened all the time. They never advanced to the place and point in terms of their own health for us to be able to sometimes process the case. So I'm not quite sure that the bill does help that. But I'm just saying that it is a significant issue that remains and will remain until all those problems are fixed.
In the summary, Mark, the only thing that would really help with it says it does reduce from 3 to 2 the number of qualified examiners needed on the panel.
That's always helpful. I mean, the public defender's office will probably have problems with that. I think that bill has gone in to the ledge before. We've tried to reduce it from 3 to 1. And in fact, I think Ron can tell me, but I think for certain particular offenses we can, but that goes to the issue of a lot of problems that we at the judiciary have had with the Department of Health getting or contract folks that they've hired to come in and, from the 3-panel perspective, to come in and do these things in a timely way.
Yeah, this is a big problem, I guess, like Judge Browning said, statewide. Basically, number one, it takes so long to get the fitness examination done, and the reason is lack of qualified examiners, and probably what I've heard is they don't pay enough, and this
Right.
that. Also, basically having these I won't call defendants being examined or remain in court is not the place for them to be, because part of, I think, our visits to the correctional facility has shown that there has been some people left in the correctional facility pending with mental illness issues. So, I hope this bill would even make a dent in the positive way to the present system.
And one section does establish a rate of compensation, so they are trying to address the compensation here. It also has something about reduced penalty for escape from the Department of Health, from the custody of the Department of Health, but that's not I think we have bigger issues here, which is the fitness to proceed. The one thing that I'm concerned about is it clarifies the term of commitment for a defendant being held at a hospital or mental health facility for fitness to proceed. We need to know how many people never leave a correctional facility and the panel meets with them there, because then that would be depriving them of the same right.
Yeah.
So, Kristen, I think that's a question we need to have put to Tommy, and just see whether they're continue to be what are they, 704s? in the correctional facilities?
I think you ought to ask the judiciary. Judiciary has those numbers.
Oh, okay.
That's my thinking. I mean, you ask Department of Corrections, we'll never hear my view.
Okay. So the judiciary will have those numbers for us. Thank you.
They should.
So
Yeah.
I'm asking the judiciary how many 704s are in the correctional facilities? Is that the?
Yeah.
And
Waiting.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
waiting their panel at the correctional facilities versus a mental health facility.
I think and like I said, it's significant. I mean, almost every year, the hospital, state hospital folks, Department of Health, would ask to meet with us in leadership about with a request not to send anybody else.
Yeah.
State
Yeah.
hospital, which is crazy. I'm sorry about the use of words, but it just, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is unacceptable.
Mark, the sad thing is that years ago, we had an inmate more than 2 years in corrections who have been found not guilty by reason of insanity. And a state
Yeah, I
hospital.
know. I remember that. Heard about it.
Yeah.
So I will email the judiciary about that. In the interim, what did you guys want to support this, or?
I mean, my suggestion is if we do anything, we take no position and just state what our concerns are.
Oh, okay. So submit comments, right?
Yeah.
We have a comment that we make, but
Okay. And then Judge Browning, are you okay if I rely on you to make sure I have that wording right?
sure.
Oh, thank you.
Kristen, I know you're asking us to volunteer to draft testimony. Right now, let's just discuss the bills. I've been in contact with you about testimonies, but let's just continue reviewing, okay? Okay, so SB 160 is requesting DOH to construct a forensic facility. I think DOH will probably respond, we just built a new forensic facility. And a mental health facility for inmates or detainees with mental health needs in the custody of the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I really am not sure what to do with that. I think I'd rather stay away from it. Ron, do you have any comments on that?
Well, I agree with you, and similar to SB 955, right? It's an issue that's regarding the 704 examination throughout the state. I don't know what the mental health facility is going to address. Maybe a place where they get treatment as well as an examination, but I don't think we should provide any testimony other than if we want to comment to support also SB 955.
Okay. Kristen, is that clear?
No. Are we passing or are we submitting comments?
No, we're just commenting like SB 955.
Okay, so the same thing. Okay, submit comment.
Okay, the next section is solitary confinement, and this is an issue that we've taken a very strong stance on in the past, that we are very concerned about the extent to which solitary confinement is used. But Kristen also noticed in this bill that although it's a solitary confinement bill, it does talk about at times allowing inmates to be housed as two in a cell. So she, in her testimony, which I agree with, included that perhaps it should be called restrictive housing as opposed to solitary confinement, because they are two different things.
I do
If
want
you
to
have an inmate, you're not in solitary.
Right. I do want to note that we did submit testimony. That bill was heard. It was passed with amendments. All of the amendments we suggested were accepted, which was cool. So now throughout the bill, it talks about restrictive housing.
And so continue to be in support of addressing solitary confinement in correctional facilities.
yes, for me.
Okay. Correctional staff, body cameras, SP 1047. We have been in favor of cameras in control stations and other areas and body cameras in the past. So I'm in
Martha,
favor of SP.
If I can
Sure.
clarify, so in the past, the commission has written that they are supportive of a 100% camera coverage that includes sound, but not necessarily body cameras. And the
Okay.
reason for that is because body cameras take up so much storage, they're extremely expensive, and then more importantly, like they can be covered and turned off. Whereas a fixed camera that has sound, will really capture everything. So I just wanted to clarify that was in the past.
So perhaps we should just be silent on SB 1047.
Because it only pertains to body cameras.
Yes.
Yeah.
That okay? Sounds like it's okay. Okay, SB 474, relating to psychologists and requires clinical psychologists in the Department of Corrections obtain licensure within 10 years of date of employment. I have to say, I really don't understand this bill. Why someone would be working as a clinical psychologist but not get their license for 10 years, because you have to have certain education to be able to get licensed. So I really don't have an understanding of this. Kristen, do you have a better understanding of what this bill is about?
No, I don't. I will say it was heard in the Senate and it did pass. We did not submit any testimony on it. The Senate was interested in having the time frame be less because 10 years feels very long. But the department came up and kind of explained why it needs to be that length. So
What did they say? Why it needs to be that length?
just that I guess it takes a lot of hours to even meet with the requirement for the license, and allowing more flexibility. So I don't know, it passed as a
So
in the meantime, those psychologists with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation may be employed without being licensed,
right.
but still function as a psychologist.
Yes.
currently, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to throw this out here. I mean, if I went to a doctor and that doctor wasn't board certified, I wouldn't go to that person. I'd have questions. And I mean, Judge Ibarra and I spent all the years that we spent in the judiciary, we certainly, and probably in private practice, dealt with psychiatrists and psychologists a number of different times. So my thought is, the point is that I think that it has something, although I don't think it specifically state that, but it has to do with, which I think is important, ensuring that we have the right qualifications, people with the right qualifications doing the job, which I think is fair. We received a number of complaints, a number of complaints about the quality of care, mental health care in Halava, for example, where that may have been an issue.
And when we were at Halava, the gentleman who was in charge of the mental health area and was not licensed, he also talked about not getting the proper supervision he needed to be able to have his hours count towards licensure.
Right.
Because he was not licensed, there was no one licensed there
Right.
to provide him with that supervision. So how about, have we submitted anything on this, Kristen? No. I would suggest maybe we do submit testimony with comments of saying how important it is. And I don't know what else to say on that one.
I mean, we could just simply say we support the idea of making sure that the concept or the principle of inmates being provided care by qualified individuals. Something like that. I don't know. That's really rough, but.
Okay, so Kristen, it's just going to be a general supporting the concept or the need. Okay, HB 69, we did submit testimony on this. This is relating to compensatory time cash out pilot program. I have to say, I read this and I don't understand why it's there at all. It is the employee's decision whether to request comp time or payment for overtime. And so now, if all this bill is doing is saying, I requested comp time, I'm not being granted the comp time, so they're not letting me take the time off, now I want it converted to dollars, and they need this bill to convert it to dollars, I support that. Otherwise, I don't quite understand what this bill is about. Christian, you got to talk to the union, yeah?
Yeah, I think the big concern was that the comp time isn't getting approved. And so this is just a way to kind of support staff. This was heard in the House, HB 69, and it was deferred on the House side. The companion to it is SB 90.
And SB 90 is what? A companion or a similar bill?
Companion, sorry. Yep, the companion is SB 90.
Oh, it's not listed here as one of the bills, so it should need to add that. But at the same time,
yeah.
the one you submitted yesterday was just fine. It was kind of like middle of the road to allow.
Yeah, the testimony we submitted was in support, just to support staff based on the staffing report. There wasn't anything.
And again, the only thing I can think of, since it is the employee's choice whether to request comp time or pay for their overtime, that they're not being allowed to take the comp time off, so it's kind of like a waste. So they're asking that they be allowed to convert it, which I don't know whether it's currently allowed under law. Okay, so support.
Yeah, we can use the same
Chris
testimony.
did very general, not getting into the specifics.
So what
Okay,
the status right now is they deferred the bill.
yeah.
And will it come up again to make our testimony relevant?
She said there's
I
a
don't think so.
SB 90,
Yeah, there's still a Senate side.
Oh, okay.
not listed here, but it's a companion bill.
SB 90.
Yeah, so we need to add SB 90. So I'm in favor of continuing to submit testimony along the lines that Christian already submitted on this.
Okay.
Okay, SB 694, minors detention adult correctional facilities prohibition. Mark Browning.
Absolutely support it.
I totally
mean-
support it too.
When I was senior judge of family court, we absolutely had a policy which carried over that I don't care what anybody said. Anyone under 18 was not going to OCCC or any other adult facility.
And that, in my experience, I worked with juvenile justice for almost 40 years in Hawaii, and I was always proud of the family court that if a kid was waived at 16, they really kept them in the youth system by not adjudicating the case until they were up to 18. We also, in the youth facility, was part of the adult system. Should we have gotten a dangerous youth into our adult system, we immediately were allowed to transfer them to the youth facility until their 19th birthday.
Right.
Now that two separate departments, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But this may help us in doing that. In favor of supporting it? Mark's in favor of supporting it?
I am.
Okay. Sentencing minimum terms provides immediate judicial review of orders fixing minimum terms of imprisonment. I don't support this. We already had a task force making a decision or trying to make a decision on whether to move minimum terms from paroling authority to another authority, and there were no recommendations for that. and I really don't see how this can happen. That's my opinion. So
Pass.
I would rather be silent on this bill. Does not say anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree.
Expungement. Making an amendment to allow the AG to expunge state-initiated expungement instead of waiting for a formal offender to have to handle this. I agree with this 100%. Many
We-
states do this already.
We did submit a testimony on this, just written comments.
Yeah. But still, we support it, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Wrongful convictions about compensation. Again, does this fall into our bailiwick?
We did support testimony for HB 151, and then the companion bill is SB 169.
Other commissioners, comments?
Yeah, I prefer not to submit anything. I don't think it's within our realm.
Yeah, that's my feeling too. Ron?
Yeah, I agree with the intent of this bill because certainly, it's part of going back, re-entry into the community with what knowing your rights. But yeah, I agree with just the concept, and I'm good with not submitting any testimony.
Okay, so since we already submitted, we're no longer
Continuing.
to
Yeah,
continue.
we're not gonna
on this
do
item.
anymore. Yeah. Okay, miscellaneous. HB 828 relating to plant-based food and drinks. I have no opinion on this. I don't see why we should bother putting in anything. That's my feeling.
Agree.
Agree.
So take it off the list. And then on SB 711 is really something we just should be following. We should not be testifying on. And that's how I initially, just to bring to our attention, because last year the Senate did try to reduce Kristen's salary and did not succeed in doing that. And I'm sorry, that was reducing salary. We had bills in the past that where they were considering having confirmation hearings for Kristen. And I convinced the chair at that time, well, Kai, that it would be, it's a policy, people, if you're going to have confirmation, it should be confirmed, which would be the commissioners, not staff. Staff is not confirmed by the Senate. And so we just want to be aware that
This bill is deferred. It's deferred.
Okay, good. Because also the Senate, they have to think about the burden of them having to do all this. I mean, like most doctors in the state get paid more than the governor does. Okay, the other bills we're just going to be following. HB 300, which is the budget bill. Our testimony was submitted when the budget was heard pre-session, and continue if any amendments are made on the budget that we can, well, there will be another hearing that will take place in the Senate, and Christian will follow that and take care of that for us. Again, state budget, both of those. Claims against the state, I always say that we should just follow this because if public safety comes up as one of the claims, that gives us an idea of what's happening in the vis-a-vis the state being held responsible for behavior usually against inmates. Very often, though, it's state employees, corrections employees that are in filing suits about wrongful termination and things like that. Anyway, just follow it. Claims against the state. And then the rest are short form bills that should the legislature fill it in before the first crossover, we need to see what it says and decide at that point whether we'll testify on it or not.
Okay.
That's concludes our review of the bills. Anything else the commissioners want to say at this point?
Yes, I want to revisit HB 1263. In the meeting chat, Carrie Ann Shirota brought up the fact that in that bill, the Oversight Commission, our commission letter requesting a pause was cited as part of that testimony. And I think, Carrie wanted to an explanation or to discuss this a little bit more about why we had taken the position we had, and I think that's fair to ask that question. I frankly didn't miss that about that reference to the letter that we wrote, and I'm wondering if that changes anything with respect to what you, Martha, you, Ron, feel about this, our position.
It's in the preamble of the bill, and I still think I'm not in favor of a pause, so it's hard for me to make any other comment about it.
The one thing I want to specify, I'm looking at the letter again, and it does express its conditional support for a new jail, contingent upon the adherence to the UHCDC report. And so the letter itself isn't asking for a hard pause. It's saying you either need to do all of these things or you need to pause. So I just wanted to.
So let me suggest something that I think might be consistent with what you want to do, Martha, and our position, and that is, but also explain the reference to the letter, and that is simply submit testimony that doesn't take a position but does quote what we stated in our letter regarding those concerns, and simply leave it at that, because I think it has to be put in context.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay.
So we can. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I have my notes right. So this is for the new jail, and we're going to submit. So basically, what our letter said.
Yeah, I think that's a great letter. Actually, one of them, terrific letter.
Thank you. Is it 1330?
HB 1263.
There it is. Sorry, got it.
Any other comments from the commissioners concerning this legislative session?
Just two things. One, I just want to thank Kristen for working late into the night on these. I was receiving emails all through into 11 p.m. And I know, Martha, you were on it as well, so I appreciate that as well. Just thank Martha for chairing this meeting today.
After 4 years of reviewing bills, or 5 years of reviewing bills, I'm still doing it.
I know. That's exactly what I thought. I retired from the judiciary. I spent Ron has said the same thing, where we always had to review judiciary bills and come up with, but I'd gotten away from it. And that's one of the great things that I was grateful for. Now, not so fast.
Yeah, and I echo comments regarding Kristen and Martha, and I saw my email and one that talked about the bill, and she wanted to comment. Kristen, so rather than wait, I knew she was up, and that's why I called her, and she had.
Yes.
I appreciated that 10 p.m. phone call.
You sent me an email, so I figured you were up and you had it. So okay, that's why. That's all. If you never, I know you weren't up.
The power went out on our house last night. There was nothing except bing, 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 bing. It was great. But the iPad would light up.
The one thing I wanted to mention, HB 1446 is one that was requested. The commission looks at from.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, we didn't review those two that we were asked to review.
Well, the one we did, so the one was about the one that you just talked about, so submitting the letter. And then the other one is actually not on our list. It's HB 1446.
That's doing forensic audit on what has been expended so far on the
Yeah.
new jail. I would rather remain silent on that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Easy enough. All right. Thank you.
Okay, now going back to the agenda. Any other comments about this legislative session before I move on, folks, and ask for public comments? I think we're ready to move on. So public comments on issues that are not on the agenda for consideration for our next meeting. Again, I cannot always see hands up, so I'm going down the list. I don't see any hands up right now. Okay, our next meeting will take place on Thursday, February 13th. And we do not have a facility tour scheduled that day, so we won't be conducting any. I will now take a motion for adjourning.
Here, Mo.
Second.
Carrie Ann has her hand up. Sorry.
Oh, Carrie Ann, I'm sorry.
No, apologies. I just noticed that Ivana Cortez from Worth Rises, they're a national organization, and they've worked with a number of states to pass connecting families bills to make calls for jails and prisons, families free. She just entered the room. I know they're in a different time zone, so I just don't know if there is an opportunity for her to just maybe make really brief comments, even though you're supporting it already. But she just entered.
Okay.
And comments should be kept to not more than 3 minutes.
Thank you
I-
so much, Gary,
Okay.
and commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity and for your support on this very important legislation. My husband spent 23 years in prison, and he did a lot of time with some Native Hawaiians that had no family in California to visit. And I know a lot of families that have loved ones in Arizona as well, Native Hawaiians, and it is like a bigger financial burden on them because there's so many steps to being able to connect with loved ones that are back in Hawaii. Hawaii is like the only state that sends their incarcerated folks hundreds of miles away from home, which separates families even more because it makes it more difficult for them to connect. And so we have received a lot of testimonies from women inside of prison and men in prison just being supportive of this measure. Work Rises has been doing this since 2018. My colleague Selena Chapin is also here, and we work together in different states where this has been successful in 5 states already, and we're just hoping that Hawaii will be the sixth state. We met with Tommy Johnson, director of DOC, yesterday. He's very supportive of the measure too and understands the need for connection and the fact that a lot of the families that are impacted by this financial burden come from low-income families, mostly women of color and Native women. And so we appreciate your support. Not sure if commissioners could also give us a letter of support for this measure, but we would love to share some talking points about this bill. Thank you so much.
Ivana, our staff person is Kristen Johnson. And Kristen, can you share in the comments how to get in touch with you?
Yeah.
So there'll be a direct link, or if
I think we have been connected on email through Josh Frost. So I have your email address, Christine. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
good.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. So again, well, I already announced when our next meeting is taking place. So that will be Thursday, February 13th. And again, it will be located at the State Office Tower downtown at 9 o'clock. And we had a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded, it's been passed. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have
Bye.
a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.